All right, so there are a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to building muscle and building an overall aesthetic physique. Especially when I first started, I didn't really know what to believe, but understanding these 3 things has definitely helped me actually build more muscle and overall build an aesthetic physique, because newsflash, building an aesthetic physique isn't purely just building muscle. All right, so today we're at Pure Fitness here in Singapore in Asia Square. Super nice gym, as you can kind of tell from the little B-roll there. We're about to have a good workout, and I'm gonna give you those 3 tips in between. Let's go. Okay, so first tip I gotta give you is focusing too much on purely weight gain. This is more of a tip focusing on building an aesthetic physique, because there's 2 elements of an aesthetic physique. Not only having muscle, but also being at a low enough body composition for that muscle to actually be revealed. And if you're purely focusing on weight gain week after week, likely you're gonna be packing on fat along the way. If your goal is purely building aesthetics, maybe it makes more sense to actually not focus too much on the weight gain. At most, if you're gonna bulk, do a lean bulk. Since there is a diminishing return as you increase the amount of surplus that you're in, you're gonna be gaining more fat than what it's actually worth. Meaning you're gonna be gaining additional fat without really building any more muscle or have it translate to increased strength all that much. Another thing is having a weight goal can be good, but it shouldn't be your only metric of progress, right? Because I hear a lot of people saying, okay, you know, I'm 5'8", I want to get to 180 pounds. So that's how much a guy should weigh or whatever. The problem with that is everyone has different bone structures, which will ultimately determine how much you're gonna weigh. I myself have a very narrow and thin bone structure. Like I can put my pinky around my wrist. Also, I'm not overall that broad. Even for my height, I'm probably gonna be lighter than the average 5'6" person. So be careful, because having a weight goal can be deceiving. Now, if you do plan to bulk, aim for at most a 0.25% increase on your weight per week. Okay. Again, any more than that, you're gonna be gaining more fat than what it's worth. So that's the first tip. Don't focus too much on the weight goal and use strength as that short-term metric instead of weight. Let's get on the second tip. Oh, weights are heavy here. I only got like 5 reps, I think, not even 5 reps. Which brings me to my second point, and that is an overfixation on rep ranges. Rep ranges aren't actually as important as you might think. Usually this comes in the form of thinking certain rep ranges do a different thing, such as over 15 reps tones the muscle. Well, there's no such thing as actually toning a muscle. What people mean by toning a muscle is just having some sort of muscular development while being at a lower body fat percentage. So that toned look is just you being at a lower body fat percentage. So if aesthetics is important to you, don't think you need to do 15 plus reps on every single exercise. It really doesn't work that way. And to a certain degree, this applies to the other end as well. While a set that is 1 to 5 reps is usually considered strength-based or powerlifting based, in reality, you can still build muscle in that rep range as well, so long as you're fulfilling 2 things. First off, you're training hard enough, meaning you're training close enough to failure, let's say within a reps in reserve of 3, but ideally even closer, let's say all the way to failure. And then the second factor is applying progressive overload, meaning you're making things harder each and every time. Let's say you're working with like 5 reps for a set. If you increase the weight week after week, that is progressive overload, and you're gonna be able to build muscle even though you're at that 5 rep range. So ultimately, you can pretty much build muscle at pretty much any rep range if you're fulfilling those 2 things. Now, with that in mind, I still think that the roughly 6 to 12 rep range is a good general rep range to follow. The reason being is if you start going too low in reps, let's say under 5 reps, while yes, you can train to failure, and yes, you can apply progressive overload and still build muscle, it might be harder for you to do that on a consistent basis, or because you're working with such heavy weight, you may increase your likelihood of getting injured, especially if you're newer and your form isn't like 100% solid. And then on the other hand, if you're doing like over 12 reps, your cardio becomes much more of a limiting factor that can actually pretty much just hinder your performance in the set. Imagine doing, let's say, a set of like 15 squats. Are you really reaching muscular failure on your quads and glutes, or are you just like out of breath? So that's rep ranges. It's not as important as you might think. What really determines whether you're building muscle or not is more about, again, you training hard enough, close enough to failure, if not to failure, and you making things harder over time. Either by adding weight, adding reps. You can, let's say you can't do either, you can also slow the tempo down on an exercise. These are all different ways to actually apply progressive overload. So hope that makes sense. That's the second tip, and move on to the third tip. But first, let's get this workout in. Third tip I want to give you guys. There are no exercises that you need to do. The concept of a mass gainer exercise, usually tied to barbell bench press, squats, just like barbell movements, barbell rows, this type of stuff, is a myth. Every exercise technically can be a mass builder if you do pretty much what I just said and train hard enough, apply progressive overload. But I think the reason why so many people think you need to do these exercises is because a lot of people do them, right? And generally the barbell exercises are the exercise that you can load the most weight and is quite accessible to a lot of people. But all in all, you want to do the variation of an exercise that you personally find the most comfortable and that personally excites you to do it, right? So if you like the barbell bench press, keep doing it. I think it can be a great exercise. A lot of people also say, on the other hand, don't do the barbell bench press because, you know, dumbbell is so much better, blah, blah, blah. And while there are inherent benefits to dumbbell training as opposed to barbell training, if you personally like barbell, if you're good at it, if it is the thing that gets you into the gym and excites you, then you should continue to do it. Because ultimately, like, fitness is all about making it easy for you to actually stick to it, right? You know you gotta be consistent long term. You're probably gonna be doing this for the rest of your life if you want to stay aesthetic. So you better find stuff that you actually enjoy, or else what kind of life is that? While there are no exercises that you must do, I will say there are certain movement patterns that you probably should be doing. So the difference between an exercise and a movement pattern, an exercise is essentially a movement pattern with a piece of equipment tied to it. So barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, etc. Now, movement pattern is the actual act of pressing. Pressing is going to be a movement pattern that you want to be doing to grow your chest and your front delt. Another example would be a vertical pull. This is a movement pattern predominantly aimed to grow your lats. So once you have all the movement patterns that you need, now you find what piece of equipment do I want to use and do I personally enjoy the most, is pain-free, and yada yada excites you. So that's kind of difference there. There are movement patterns that you should be doing to build an aesthetic physique, but there is no specific exercise that you need to be doing. You don't need to be using a specific type of equipment. Use what's good for you, and let's finish off this workout.
And lastly, we jumped on some high to low rear delt flies for the rear delts. Now, we delved into a lot of different topics in this video. If something didn't make sense, maybe it was like a certain term, go ahead and pause the video, look up what the term means, and rewatch this video so it really makes sense. And I promise you, if you do truly understand these topics, it will speed up your progress. But with that said, if you even want to further optimize your training and fast track the learning curve necessary for you to develop an aesthetic physique, that means workouts, knowing what diet to follow, that sort of thing, then I highly recommend you apply to my exclusive one-on-one fitness coaching program, because you're going to be getting personal guidance to do just that. And as you see, I've had clients at pretty much every starting point out there. So if you're interested, apply in the link in the description and apply soon. You do not want to wait.
Well, that concludes today's exercise and this video. I hope y'all got some really good nuggets out of this. I think this should pretty much change your mindset on certain things and how you approach building muscle and building an aesthetic physique. So hope this is helpful. If it was, leave a like, hit subscribe if you want to see more informative content. You guys really don't like my travel, more fun videos. I can tell you guys really like my informative stuff, so I'm gonna keep providing y'all informative content that hopefully help y'all build an aesthetic physique. So let's get it. I'll see y'all next one.